Okay, good morning, children. Saroj, Anushka, Anshu, Arnav. Okay, boys, today we are going to start the black aeroplane. All of you focus on your textbook. It is something called a mystery lesson. Okay, so let us find out what happens in this. It is the name of the lesson is the black aeroplane. So you see here, the moon was coming up in the east behind me, and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. The sky was entirely clear. There wasn't any cloud. It was not overcast. The sky was very clear. And then I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota airplane over France back to England. So the narrator appears to be a pilot. He was flying his black aeroplane called Dakota over France. Okay, back to England. Means from France he was going to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. Okay, so while he was flying, he was thinking of his family, that he will be together with his family because his holiday is starting soon. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. Okay, he was driving, it seems, flying at night. Okay, that is why it was 1:30 in the morning. So once again, let me revise for you. The narrator of the story is a pilot who was flying a black aeroplane called Dakota, and he was flying from France to England. Okay, and while he was flying his black aeroplane, he was thinking of his family who is there in England. Okay, so he is thinking of his upcoming holiday when he will be spending his time with his family. So this is what he was thinking while he was driving his black aeroplane called Dakota at night. Around, it was 1:30 or something, it's written like 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris control soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose of the airplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. So suddenly, when he thought he should call the Paris control room, then suddenly he could see some lights in front of his flight. Okay. As I looked down past the nose of the airplane from his cockpit, he was seeing. So he saw the lights of a big city in front of him. I switched on the radio and said, radio means radio signal actually. Okay, like transmission. Okay, this is called radio. So he was trying to contact to the Paris control room. So through the radio he said, Paris control, Dakota DS 088 here. Can you hear me? I am on my way to England. Then over. Because you see, when the pilots, okay, fly the flights, what happens? They are constantly in touch with the control room. Okay, because you must be knowing they have to drive in certain altitudes, right? And they have to come down and go up also at certain altitudes. So as they get information from the control room, okay, they have to normally they stay in the same altitude. Okay, because other altitudes, other flights are moving, so there will be clash otherwise. Okay, so that is why they move normally on the same altitude. Okay, but if there is some cloud or any storm or anything, any emergency, they might go at high altitude also and at low altitude also, depending on what signal they get from the control room. So they are constantly in touch with the control room. Okay, so accidents take place when the when the control room transmission gets disconnected. Understood? A few days back it happened, like something of this sort. Like, it is not an accident, but Mumbai to Durgapur, West Bengal, there was a flight, it's called Spice Jet. So there was so much of turbulence in the flight, means it was shaking like this out of storm, in the storm. It lost its altitude for some time. Okay, but somehow the pilot managed to get the altitude back, and then they eventually landed. But there was a lot of injury among the passengers. Okay, so it happens when there is storm or clouds or fog. Okay, it happens sometimes to it becomes difficult for pilot to land the flight actually. Otherwise, everything is automated in the flight. Everything is automated nowadays. Pilot has to just sit and monitor. Doesn't have to do anything. Okay, else everything is automated. Okay, but sometimes while landing and all that, he needs to manual operation is required sometimes. Okay, next you see, then he was calling Paris control room saying, can you hear me, I'm on my way to England, over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately, DS 088, I can hear you, you have to turn 12 degrees west now, DS 088, over. From the Paris control room he got his message that he has to turn his flight 12 degrees west. Okay, and then the signal, this is the message he got. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I will be in my time for breakfast, I thought, a good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. Okay, there was no turbulence, there was no disturbance. So he got the confirmation from Paris control room to turn towards the west, and then he will be able to go towards England, and then he thought he will be on time to reach England and have breakfast with his family. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel. Okay, his fuel was also going over. Then Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me, very close. Okay, because aerial distance 150 kilometers is nothing. It takes hardly 10 minutes to reach. Okay, because 800,000 kilometers it travels in just 1.5 hours. Okay, so 150 is nothing for a flight distance. Okay, so Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds, and then suddenly the storm came. Okay, storm clouds, they were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. That is when the pilot becomes confused, and sometimes the turbulence takes place in the flight. Okay, so suddenly huge storm came from somewhere. He was not able to see anything. Okay, then you see, they were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So the captain does not have any resource, like his fuel was running out. Okay, therefore he could not maneuver much, and he could not come out of the clouds also. Okay, because if you want to come out of the cloud, higher altitudes, it consumes fuel, so he doesn't have fuel much, so he was not able to even if he wants to, he cannot come out of the cloud. Okay, then you see here, I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. I ought to go back to Paris. He decided he has to go back to Paris now. Okay, because he must be knowing France and England, they are neighboring countries only. Okay, very close to one another. Okay, so might be he was closer to the Paris airport than England. Okay, that is why he decided to come back to Paris. Okay, I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. Okay, his mind wanted him to go to England, have his breakfast, but the situation demanded him to go back to Paris. Okay, I will take the risk, I thought, and then he decided he will take the risk and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the storm, into the storm he was flying then. He decided to take risk and not go back to the Paris. Okay, inside the clouds everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air, because as I told you, it's called turbulence. Okay, like the flight will shake like this. It's very scary actually. Okay, if you are not having the seat belt, then you might also you might fall off onto the board. Okay, you might jump up and down. Okay, so it's very He was also facing the same situation here. The flight was shaking like anything. Okay, it was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass, and then what he did was he looked at the compass. He wanted to see the direction, means where he is placed now. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead, means the compass didn't work. Okay, it did not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. All the instruments of seeing the direction, everything became blind, out of order. I tried the radio. Now he was trying to contact the Paris control room through signal. Radio transmission बोलते हैं इसको. Okay, radio मतलब वो radio नहीं, इसको radio transmission बोलते हैं. Okay, so he was trying to contact to the control room, okay, through the radio transmission, and then he said, Paris control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. And he lost his signal with the control room also, like his radio also stopped working. Then in front of him, suddenly into the clouds, he could see another aeroplane flying in front of him. मतलब उनका डायरेक्शन भी जा रहे हैं लेकिन in front of him. Okay. Then in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. And he said that pilot was trying to wave at him also, okay, show his hands to him. Then he felt some confidence because at least somebody else is also there in front of him. Okay, but normally it never happens. Okay, it never happens in real life. No two flights can be in the same altitude. Doesn't matter whether it is going in the same direction. Doesn't matter. But no two flights can be in the same altitude. Okay, according to aviation guidelines, you can say, norms, right? See, few days before what happened now, like in Bangalore, it happened with Indigo. Okay, Indigo was taking off, and another Indigo from somewhere was landing. Okay, and they came dangerously close to the same altitude. Okay, and then suddenly the pilots took it in another direction, the one which was taking off. Another direction, okay, and then somehow the clash could be avoided. Okay, so it sometimes happens due to the transmission error actually. Okay, radio transmission, they get a signal. Sometimes it happens. It's a error communication from the control room actually, miscommunication from the control room. So it is very dangerous actually, right? So normally air traffic is the safest mode of transport. Okay, very few accidents will come across, very few. But still sometimes you never know, like technical problem might also be there, right? And sometimes same altitude, but same altitude is hardly actually, okay? Maybe once in 20 years, something like that, okay? But otherwise it's safe mode of transport. Okay, let us see what happens now. Okay, then in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no flights on its wings. Okay, and then he lifted hand and waved, and he said, "Follow me." He was saying, "Follow me." He knows that I am lost. Okay, the pilot, another pilot who was flying ahead of him, he thought that he was lost. So he's trying to help me. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. And the poet, having lost all means of communication, his compass is not working, then his radio transmission is not working, okay? So he thought of following another aeroplane which was in front of him instead of, applying his own mind, okay? So therefore, he started following him. See, next. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. Even after half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there. Now, there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. So the writer is saying he had just sufficient fuel to fly just 10 minutes. Okay, not beyond that. Okay. Then you see, it was a runway. Suddenly, okay, just a minute. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down, and I followed through the storm. And the flight which was going ahead of him, it started going down, and the pilot of the old Dakota also followed him blindly. Okay, suddenly, you see here, suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. It was very surprising that the airplane which has guided him, okay, to land safely at the runway, on the runway, that aeroplane suddenly disappeared from somewhere. Okay. So it's a mystery airplane, the black one. That is why it's black aeroplane. The black aeroplane is a mystery one, it seems. Okay. Now you see, I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. Another aeroplane? The control room assistant, she became very surprised. Another aeroplane? There was no other aeroplane except yours on my radar. Okay? There was no other aeroplane. How can you say there was another aeroplane? Okay? See here. So Shubham. Okay, so listen here. Okay, next, listen. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. ये देखो, no other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar, she says. Then, so who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tank? He was asking, who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? And then he became so surprised about who was that pilot. What was that black aeroplane which was suggesting me to, which was giving me direction to land safely on the runway? Okay, so he did not get any clue, and then suddenly the story ends. Okay, so suddenly the story ends because he did not get any clue. Okay, he did not get any clue as to. He did not get any clue about where the black aeroplane suddenly disappeared. Okay, so when he inquired at the control room assistant was laughing at him, saying that there was no other flight except yours, which was caught on the radar. So he became very much surprised. Where from this Dakota came? Black aeroplane came. Okay, from where it came and from suddenly disappeared in the sky. So this is why it's a mystery story. Okay, so do you think the narrator, who was the pilot, was able to go back to land in England or Paris? Where did he land eventually? Did he land in England airport or in Paris? Okay, so dear students, let us wind up the lesson today here. Okay, so please do update your notebook till this lesson. Okay, till this lesson you please update your notebook, that is till the art of flying. Okay, there are two lessons separately given on the website. One is his first flight, another is black aeroplane. So till black aeroplane you update, and tomorrow all of you bring the supplementary reader. I shall start, yes, footprints. I shall bring a new start a new lesson tomorrow, that is, yes, you bring this tomorrow. First flight no need to bring tomorrow. We shall start a new lesson from the supplementary reader, that is footprints, the thief story we are going to start.